dirty. And we do have... Wow!
Oh no!
You gotta be kidding me.
Oh my goodness!
After a qualifying session that saw Gary Movadell score pole position, it's time for the main event. And alongside Movadell, there's the driver that, while not clinching the championship here in New Hampshire, he can put more than one hand on the trophy if he keeps his car out of trouble. Naturally, there's one driver that will try to put a stop to that, and that is Jonathan Carrison, just 22 points behind Nathan Stapleton. But if Stapleton can keep his car out of trouble, and most importantly ahead of Carrison, he will definitely have a very easy time at North Wilkesboro. But of course, we got 61 laps, anything can happen, so let's give it a good show, gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Run 31 of the 2025 PSRLA Cup Series. Welcome to the U-Haul 301 at New Hampshire Motor Speedway, race 9 of the playoffs. Hello everybody, my name is Alexandre Vitale, and yeah, basically the main talking point of this race is Stapleton and his chances of winning the championship. Now, for him to clinch the championship here in New Hampshire, it will take a miracle. Basically, Jonathan Carrison would have to not race. He would have to need a terrible race, if not even start a race at all, for Stapleton to clinch the championship. And of course, Stapleton would also have to win the race. So he'll have to be ahead of everybody else to effectively put the championship to rest here in New Hampshire, which I believe would be the first one for a chase format. Even in NASCAR, that didn't happen in the chase format, where a driver just put the championship on lockdown before the race, before the season actually ended. So Stapleton, for its purposes, is on course to do a first, even in real life. Naturally, it's gonna be very hard, but still, never say never. This is stock car racing, so yeah. And of course, again, Gary Movadell was starting pole position. His hopes are pretty much dead and buried. Also, he would need a miracle, and that is for Stapleton to have the same fate that I just described to Carrison, to have any hope of winning the championship. But at this point, I would assume that all the drivers in the playoffs have. They have, of course, never say never. You never said that it's over until it's over. But I would not be surprised if some drivers are already thinking, yeah, we're not gonna win this, so let's put our focus on making this last two races as fun as they possibly can. But yeah, outside of the championship talks, as we stated in qualifying, there were two news. One being Skip Silver at Aegis Motorsports in his first ever race for Aegis Motorsports. Unfortunately, not a good qualifying session for the former Vision Motorsports driver. Only will be starting for the second. But the brand new driver that is running on Silver's former car, the 14 car, driven by Emily York Watson, she's starting in 15th on her first ever race at first ever and unfortunately last race in the PSRLA, proving once again that rookies impress on the first outings. We saw it with Perez, we saw it with Alexander Rowe, and of course we saw it with Watson. That's also true that the Vision Motorsports cars have been one of the best teams. The Vision Motorsports has been one of the best teams in the field. Look at Avery Alford, who looks on course to win Best of the Rest Championship, unless Zachary Fitzwater has anything to say about it. Fitzwater is starting in 5th, while Nick Alford will be starting in 9th. So yeah, of course, we still need to, of course, there's also the battle for Best of the Rest, and right now Alford, it also looks like he's got that one in the bag, but again, everything can happen. There are still 2 races, so yeah. Plenty of stories here today. Stapleton potentially clinching the championship. The races for both, the first race for both Silver and Watson, and of course, the battle for Best of the Rest. Plenty of stories, and we got 61 laps to answer if I have an answer to all these questions. So I say there's nothing else to say other than, guess what, folks? It's time for racing.
Drivers, start your engines.
The command has been given. These drivers were on the track any second now. And here they are. And in qualifying, Guillermo Vidal was starting to go pole position. Alongside him would be Nathan Stapleton. Third is Alexander Rowe. And then it's Tom Sloan, Zachary Fitzwater, Jonathan Carrison, Roberto Crown Jr., Andy Gutierrez, Avery Alford, Alana Koshmar rounding out the top 10. As we stated, Carrison, the only real threat to Stapleton's championship hopes. Everyone else would need a miracle for that to happen. New Hampshire, the Magic Mile, the track with the least steepest banking alongside Martinsville. As the pace car is going to pull into the pits, Movidel and Stapleton lead us to a green flag, and green flag is in the air. We're away at Loudon. And it's still going to be a side-by-side between Movidel and Stapleton for the lead. Right now is Movidel that led this lap, but Stapleton now looks like he's going to back out and even lose second place away from Alexander Rowe. Rowe goes in for a timid move on Movidel for the lead as Rowe clears, never mind, Stapleton, they're still side-by-side, Rowe and Stapleton. Of course, neither of them are threats for the championship, so right now Stapleton is probably not gonna give too much of a fight, as now Rowe takes second place. Stapleton drops down to third as Roberto Crown Jr. and Tom Sloan go side by side. Sloan being helped by Avery Alford, the manufacturer mate at Chevrolet. As now Sloan looks like is going to clear the 37, and the answer looks to be no. Crown is still there, as that's also side by side between Andrew Williams and Jeffrey Finguy. Jeffrey Finguy, of course, one of the many drivers that's going to have a lot of regrets at the end of the season, as Sloan did go through Roberto Crown Jr., and now Alford looks to be doing the same, and he does. Alford takes the place away from Roberto Crown Jr., who's now going to watch themselves from Andrew Williams, as Lana Koshmar goes for a dive bomb on Jeffrey Finguy, but Finguy manages to not get surprised. In the meantime, Alexander Rowe is glued to the rear of the one of Movidel, as Fitzwater is now in fourth, Sloan is in fifth, and Finguy looks like he's going to win his battle with Koshmar. In fact, he does. Finguy clears. Look at Koshmar actually looked like he was going to actually make a side by side. Actually, he does first issue still make a side by side. He's still not clear, Finguy. As you can see there, Gutierrez dealing with Philip Torres, and now Koshmar drops down to 10th place from Finguy. Everybody on the single file. There's Anthony Nicol dealing with Kalasastrai, and we're dealing with the two celebrities car of Ali Anderson Jr. and the Kalasastrai, as Alexander Rowe is still glued to the rear of Guillermo Vidal, as Tom Sloan looks like he's going to take fourth place away from Zachary Fitzwater, being up by Alford, and looks to be no. Fitzwater is still putting a big battle, but Sloan right now has the advantage, and Now Alford is now behind, in the middle of the two cars, and now Alford switches to the line of Fitzwater, and looks like Fitzwater is going to clear for the free car, but Sloan is putting a lot more effort. But now Fitzwater looks to be putting no. Sloan is still there. Sloan is still there as the leading trio is pulling away from the rest of the field. As right now, Jonathan Carrison is out of the top 10. Currently, he is in 13th, dealing with Zane Davidson and Justin Perez. So of course, all good news for Stapleton and his championship hopes, as Sloan has failed to overtake Fitzwater, and now he's got to watch himself from Alford. As you saw there, Rowe attempted a timid move on Movedell. Movedell has led every single lap until this point. As now Finn Guy handles another checker flag car and Andrew Williams. Of course, behind them he's got 3 Chevrolets, 2 checker flag cars, and 1 Vision motorsports car. As this group, as we stated, is pulling away from Fitzwater and the rest, as they're side by side between Justin Perez and Jonathan Carrison. Jonathan Carrison, right now, he is in 14th. He has lost a place and looks like he's going to lose another one, because Perez is almost made it clear. As there's also Emily York Watson right now is 16th and now looks to be 5th. No, never mind, not 15th. But Carrison looks to be handling to 14th. The Joe Life to 14th. As the winning trio is almost 2 seconds away from the next car in Zachary Fitzwater on lap number 12, and now Perez clears the 44 of Carrison, so Carrison loses another spot. Right now he's in 15th and potentially then 16th if Torres has anything to say about it. But in the meantime, a pretty cagey race as of right now. There's Alford on the inside of Fitzwater for 4th. But Fitzwater... Actually, no. Fitzwater, it looks like he was going to shut down the door on Alford. But Alford did find a space. But unfortunately not enough to overtake the Australian driver on his rival for best of the rest. Which, of course, not exactly a good way, because your rival is right behind you, so of course you're going to gain any points on him. As Alford is tries once again on the inside of Fitzwater, but no dice. The Australian driver manages to close the door once again. As Carrison is dealing with Justin Perez, while Torres is dealing with newcomer Emily York Watson. And now Watson has to watch herself from both the Fords of Anderson Jr. and the Sastry. As Koshmar goes in the side of Roberto Crown Jr. We got some side-by-sides. Solon with Finguy and Alford with Fitzwater. And Alford looks like clears Fitzwater. And so they clear Finguy. And now looks like Koshmar is going to clear Roberto Crown Jr. And maybe with the help from Gutierrez, as Finguy and Williams again once again side by side. As Stapleton looks like he's going to... No, he's still there. Actually, no. Modell is starting to pull away from Alexander Rowe. Alexander has asked to watch himself from Stapleton. His newest championship rival is right now stuck in 15th. Not that many points, but still vital points for North Wilkesboro. As Williams and Finguy still go side by side. Now he should have it in the bag, Williams. The answer is yes. And he does, and potentially even almost a double overtake on Tom Sloan as well. Let's check out the rear is ridden by Tanner Pardon and William Ayers are running up the rear of the field. And unfortunately, Gene D'Amelio, the Talladega winner, back on the much more familiar positions, unfortunately, for D'Amelio, who came so close in a 5 King Racing 1-2, but of course, Marie Giacomo was there to spoil the party. In the meantime, Williams is still battling with Finn Guy for what is 7th place. And now Koshmar looks like to be adding to the fire. But in the meantime, Harrison has lost a lot of time to Justin Perez, and Torres is right there. So he could potentially lose more positions to Harrison could potentially lose more positions, as this leading trio has never really changed positions. They're still 1, 2, and 3. They have been pretty much since the beginning of the race, unless Rowe has anything to say about it, but the answer looks to be no. In fact, no, Rowe decides to settle behind the one once again, as Sloan tried on the inside of Fitzwater. But now Alford looks to be aiming for 3rd place, as finally Finga managed to clear Andrew Williams, and now he's got to watch himself from Leonard Koshmar. Of course, Koshmar, regardless of what happens, still a very impressive rookie season for the Serbian driver. Rookie season, first attempt in the playoffs. The playoffs in this first attempt. Of course, Avery Alford, if only he was more consistent in the early part of the season, I reckon it would have been Vision Motorsports with all cars in the playoffs, except for the 14, of course, instead of Checker Flag. But right now there's Gutierrez dealing with Bryce Egan and Crown, as they're side by side between Sloan and Finguy. In the meantime, let's check out the position with Carrison. Carrison is still stuck in 15th with Torres, that is not really catching up to him. At least Carrison is still doing enough to keep a safe gap from Torres, as now Watson has lost the position to Anderson Jr. And now we got a battle. We could potentially have a battle between teammates for what would be it's going to be fifth place. As now Stapleton looks like he's losing contact from the leading duo. Of course, the question is why these guys will have to go to the pits. As Momadel leads another lap. Lap number 24 of 61. And Alford is quickly catching up to Stapleton. Everybody single file bar Egan and Gutierrez, who are battling for 11th. Right now the battle is being won by Bryce Egan. And Egan manages to clear the Mexican driver, as Torres is still very close to, actually there's a bit of damage to that Ford, but still, and Gutierrez is in the pits. Now I have no idea if that's an actual, if I believe, no, that's a problem on Gutierrez's car and not a scheduled pit stop, because nobody else is pitting. So I'm afraid problems for Gutierrez, as Stapleton very aggressive on Alexander Rowe. We finally could have a change in these three positions. As Stapleton looks like is going to take second place away from Alexander Rowe. Of course, these guys cannot fight all too much, because this gentleman in Avery Alford is coming in. It's coming in hot, as the side by side Rowe and Stapleton, as lap number 26 is going to be in the books right now. And there it is. So yeah, Gutierrez is in the pit, so problems for the 45 Able Motorsports car, as Stapleton, by sheer brute strength, He barges his way through Alexander Rowe, and can it clear? Yes, it does. Rowe is not going to go down without a fight, however. And of course, this is great news for Garen Movadell, who now can pull away from this duo who are fighting. Again, Stapleton is fighting for the championship, and Rowe is not quitting. Rowe is not quitting, and of course, that is going to allow, as that has allowed Avery Alford to catch up, pretty much. And so is for Jeffrey Finguy. As we look at Jonathan Garrison, still Torres unable to overtake him. I was still focused for battling for second, which now could become a freeway battle. And now Alexander Rowe finally clears Stapleton after they realized they just allowed, probably after they realized that they allowed Alford to close in, pretty much. And of course they allowed Guillermo to go away, as Gutierrez is still in the pit. So race ruined for the Mexican driver at this point. Stapleton looks like he's gonna go for it again, but no space as Movadell crossed the line for lap number 30. They're about to hit the halfway point of the race, or actually hit the halfway point of the race. And now Movadell has 1.3 seconds of fresh air, both on his front end and on his rear. He's got a lot of clean air. Has got a lot of clean air and no worries at the back. Although these two guys, or some of these three guys, are catching up to it. 1.1 second is the gap between Alexander Rowe and Gary Movadell. In reverse, of course. As they're about to hit 3 laps to go, they're about to hit the halfway point, and still no pit stops for any of them. But Movadell is actually catching up to the lap car of Tanner Parton, as they now hit halfway point. There we go. Now Guillermo Movadell is still the leader at the halfway point of the race. At this point, he should have led the most laps led. If he leads this next lap, he should have. If he leads the next 2 laps, he should have most laps led. As Rowe is pulling away from Stapleton. Stapleton with Alexander Rowe and Jeffrey Finguy. Side by side, the meeting between Finguy's teammate in Zachary Fitzwater and Movadell's teammate in Andrew Williams. And Williams looks like he got it. The answer is yes, and now I gotta do a Koshmar. It was Alfred's teammate. And yes, Rowe is indeed closing in pretty quickly on Movadell. Still no pit stops. And unfortunately, Skep Silver, not a good day for the driver of the brand new driver of Aegis, down in 27th. As now we got Stapleton, Alford, and Finguy battling for 3rd place. And of course, one up for Stapleton is that Alford and Finguy start battling each other. And we're still not gonna go to the pits, it looks like. No, Movadell keeps going for one more lap. As there we go, Alfred is battling with Finguy, and that's all that Stapleton wanted. But this battle actually is not gonna last very long. It didn't last at all. And there wasn't even a battle actually. Alfred managed to keep the position quite easily, pretty much. As Rowe is quickly catching up to Guillermo Movadell. Rowe, as we know, he is the 2025 Haas Sprint Series champion. And one thing that I forgot to mention up to this point is that this man, Zachary Fitzwater, won the Haas IndyCar Series championship in 2025. So congratulations to Zachary Fitzwater. At least managed to come up with a title this year, of course, over at AG's channel. But still, Stapleton is in 3rd, is in the meantime doing a good job for keeping these 2 guys behind them. As Carrison is doing also a pretty good job at avoiding losing more positions from these 2 Fords of Torres and Anderson Jr. While York Watson is doing a really decent job at 17th for her first race. For her first and only attempt at a race. In the meantime, Movedell has catched up to Tanner Parton. And Rowe did catch up to Movedell. So let's see how much of a factor lap cars are going to be in this race. At least until pit stops happen. Which are not going to happen to this lap at least. And no, the answer is absolutely no. As they complete lap number 38. Actually, start lap number 38 to complete lap number 37. There he goes. Movedell has caught on to Tanner Parton, and of course Rowe has all the can potentially go in for the charge, but Movedell is on the outside of Parton and looks like he's going to make sure notice of the 97 car. In fact, looks like it's actually be a nuisance for Alexander Rowe, or never mind. Actually, no, never mind. He actually leaves the space for both Movedell and Rowe. Still green flag and still no pit stops for any of them, as Movedell and Rowe go past Tanner Parton with literally no issues. Let's see if Stapleton, if it's going to be the exact same thing for Stapleton, Alfred, and Finguy. As Stapleton goes on the inside of Parton, and Stapleton should have it quite easy. And now pit stops have begun. Brandon Ream is in the pits. Did somebody else follow him? And the answer looks to be no. So either he also has a problem or pit stops have indeed begun. But I'm afraid it might be a problem on Ream's car. And no, never mind. It's not a problem. Ream's car. The pit stops have indeed begun. So Brandon Ream early on the trigger, as Movedell and Rowe, Finguy, Sloan, Williams, and Fitzwater in the pits. Of course, 4,000 fuel as we come to 21 laps to the end. As also Salstry in the pits. We focus on Gary Movedell, leader of the race up until this point. 4,000 fuel for everybody, of course. Next, of course, then should be the next group, and looks like Alexander Rowe is going to win this. No, Movedell actually wins this battle. So, of course, some more drivers in the pits. There's also Eric Monaco, Brendan Beal. There's Stapleton in the pits. Of course, Stapleton, we will see what kind of... where is he going to go? And problems for Stapleton. No, there he goes. Out he goes. And that... oh, well, that... no. No, that did not just happen. That did not just happen. Major problems for Stapleton. Major problems for Stapleton. And guess what? Carrison is going to win the battle of a pit road. So, big trouble for Stapleton in the pits in mid-contact with Bruno Di Giacomo, and took a very, very good while to get out of there. So, right now, big trouble for Nathan Stapleton. Of course, we'll have to see what kind of positions these guys are, as now looks like Movedell should be the leader anyway, as he deals with the 9 car William Ayers. And Movedell is going to deal with the Toyota Skylar Taylor, as Finguy goes past Rowe. Now is Movedell leading the race? And the answer is indeed yes, as Movedell deals with Skylar Taylor. Second is Finguy. Third is Alexander Rowe. And where is Stapleton right now? Stapleton is down in 16th. And Carrison is now, looks like, 2 positions, and now goes past Bruno Di Giacomo, the car that gave him trouble and gave it to Stapleton in the pits. So, of course, we'll have to see what kind of situation will be in the championship. But right now, Stapleton's in trouble, and this is exactly what all these guys want to hear. Especially Carrison, as Movedell deals with Hunter Mendoza, while Rowe and Finger behind them deal with the car of William Ayers. Can Movadell clear the 28 Williams N car? Was been sponsorless for virtually the entire season. He actually used to have Gamebridge, but another car went sponsorless due to the inactivity of Mendoza. But there we go. Now Movadell has to deal with Talladega winner Ginny Stamelio up next. And there he goes. In the meantime, where is Stapleton? Stapleton is catching up to the car of Bruno Di Giacomo, but while Carrison is flying away. Of course, right now Stapleton went from cruise control to damage limitation. In the meantime, yeah, Gutierrez is pretty much out of the race at this point. Way too far away to try. Way too far away. As Movadell deals with Ginny Stamelio, and so does Finguy. As Rowe dealt with Mendoza. There we go. And now Movadell has plenty of clean air before the next lap car in. Aubrey Gardner, who, again, as we stated last week, as we did in qualifying, Charlie Davenport hasn't been able to find a replacement, so Gardner will stay in the 24 car, even though, as I'm pretty sure everybody knows by this point, he has been banned from the PSRLA server alongside Danny Johnson. In the meantime, let's check out back to Stapleton as Carrison is having some trouble catching up to the next two cars of Bryce Egan and Justin Perez, while Stapleton is glued to the rear of Bruno Di Giacomo in the Aegis number 7, the Daytona 500 winner. Can he try an overtake? Right now, looks to be no. But back up front we go. As Movadell is still leading. Pretty much has led every single lap except every single lap. As now Alford goes through the value. Apologies for that. And right now Alford is in 4th while Fitzwater is in 9th. Right ahead of Zane Davidson. So for Stapleton, it's more points lost on the battle for best rest. In the meantime, Stapleton cannot clear, can also find a way through Bruno Di Giacomo. But pretty much right now it's all a battle between drivers and lap cars, as Movadell has cut on to both Bradley Ream and Aubrey Gardner. And he makes short notice of Gardner, but not of Ream, as we are about to come with 10 and a half laps to go. And Movadell goes through Ream. Nice and easy, or at least it should be. As Finguy goes through Gardner. And then let's go back. And no, Stapleton is still stuck behind Bruno Di Giacomo. And there's York Watson dealing with Ryan Little. Right now she's battling for 19th. A top 20 spot was still pretty impressive for her first outing ever. But now he's got to deal with Carson Miller, Luke Evans, and Anthony Nicol to keep that top 20 final finishing spot. As Movadell makes it. And there goes Alexander Rowe. Alexander Rowe's engine is blown off. And he almost caused the contact with Aubrey Gardner. And is this going to cause a caution? Rose, that was some catastrophic failure on Rose car. He didn't make it into the pits. And is this going to cause a caution? The answer is no. But Alexander Rowe, his engine is gone. So that's going to allow Stapleton, they're going to go one place ahead of Stapleton and potentially 2 places, because now Stapleton finally finds a way through potentially on Bruno Di Giacomo, but Di Giacomo goes to the door, but Stapleton is not giving in without a fight, as the leading duo of Finguy and Movadell pretty much pulled away from Alford, but no, as Stapleton looked like he actually had a potential overtake on Di Giacomo, but the answer is no. And there's Alexander Rowe. Alexander Rowe, who looked to potentially take third place, and everything is now gone thanks to an engine blowout. In the meantime, these two are glued together for the race. So the race for the win is on. Of course, these two drivers can only hope for more problems for Stapleton if they want to keep the championship hopes alive, but still, now they have to focus on the race win as they complete lap number 56, sorry, of 61. But Movedel is going to pull a little safety gap on the Finn guy, as the next car they have to lap is the OSC car of Joshua Neely. And now Stapleton is now up to 13th, so... Actually, no. Oh, is Bruno Giacomo a lap down? Really? Yeah, Bruno Giacomo is a lap down, so okay, no, never mind. So basically, it's actually even worse than I thought, because Stapleton is being troubled by a lapped car. So it's even worse than I thought. Stapleton is struggling to pass a lapped car, which also is actually a good thing, because technically means that he doesn't have that much. Does not lose that much from Carrison, but still he's being annoyed by a lapped car, as Movedel and Finn guy are going to do 4 laps to go. I want to say 4 laps to go between these two. Movedel has led every single race, but Finn, of course, he wants to at least gain his 7th win of the season. Who has won already 6 races and wants to add a 7th, and there goes it. Finn guy side by side into the main straight. 3 laps to go. Does Finn guy have it? And the answer looks to be yes. Can he clear him? Yes, he does clear. Finn guy does clear Movedel at the entrance of the backstretch and exit of turn 2. So right now, Finn guy has to defend 2 laps from a very, very angry and fast Gary Movedel, who's now, of course, going to try his absolute hardest to take that win away from Finn guy, as Finn guy is going to do 2 laps to go. And now Finn guy has put a safety gap on Movedel. Movedel looks like pretty much has given up, so it looks like Movedel doesn't have enough fuel to make it to the end. At least cannot make it to the end with those tires, as Jeffrey Finn guy is going to take the white flag. 1 lap to go for Jeffrey Finn guy and win number 7. And let's be real, this would be a very, very deserved win for Jeffrey Finn guy after all the hell that he had to go through in the 2 super speedway races at Daytona and Talladega, and him losing the championship of what it looked like pretty much a championship already won, as he goes through turn number 4, and he's going to take a checker flag. Jeffrey Finn guy wins at New Hampshire. 7 wins in 2025 for Jeffrey Finn guy. Second, it will be Gary Movedel, who pretty much kept the lead up until the last 2 laps. Third is going to be Avery Alford. Then it's going to be Andrew Williams in 4th, Lana Koshmer in 5th, Rurkon Jr. in 6th, Zachary Fitzwater in 7th, then it's Davidson in 8th, Justin Perez in 9th, Thomas Lana in 10th, Jonathan Carrison is going to be in 12th, and again, the Nathan Stapleton in 13th, so of course we'll have to see the championship standings, but I would assume he gained very little, as Finn guy takes his spot on his pit stall. And so, Jeffrey Finn guy, with overtaking the last couple of laps, wins the U-Haul 301, his 7th win of the season. Second is Gary Movedel. A very big shame that the driver, he had dominated the entire race from basically start to finish, and of course he couldn't pull it off in the last 2 laps. Avery Alford in 3rd, solidifying his lead in the Best of Rest Championship. Then is Andrew Williams, Lana Koshmer, Rurkon Jr., Zachary Fitzwater, Zane Davidson, Justin Perez, and Tom Sloan. He got the top 10. Jonathan Carrison is going to be in 2nd, and Nathan Stapleton is 12th, and Nathan Stapleton is going to be in 13th. So for entertainment purposes, Stapleton will have to watch himself from Garrison at North Wilkesboro. So things ain't done yet for the 2025 season. And of course, the valve issue for Alexander Rowe that took him a third place away, and took a third place away from him. And 29 cars on the lead lap, no cautions whatsoever. And Charlie Davenport, R.B. Garner, James Miller, Bradley Ream, Hunter Mendoza, William Mayer, Sky Taylor, Bruno DiGiacomo, Tanner Pardon, and will be all a lap down. And Gutierrez, unfortunately, 38 laps down, pretty much a DNF for the Mexican due to an issue with his car that the mechanics haven't been able to fix. But yeah, that was New Hampshire. After the craziness of Talladega, we expected a calm race, and it was exactly what we all expected. Well, except for the drama in the pits around DiGiacomo and Fitzwater and Stapleton. Of course, I would assume there's going to be quite a conversation between DiGiacomo and Stapleton, especially considering that DiGiacomo was a lapped car. But still, now we got a little bit of drama, and thanks to Garrison finishing ahead of Stapleton, I guess we're pretty much going to stay the same. We're going to stay the same topics that we talked about yesterday. To talk about today, at next week at North Wilkesboro for the season finale. But yeah. From remember, Stapleton was better at short tracks than Garrison was, but Garrison now looks to have momentum on his side. But yeah, we will see, of course, in North Wilkesboro at the grand finale what was going to happen, and we are going to see a little sneak peek of what can potentially happen with watching the championship standings after the race. Did I say little sneak peek? Well, turns out that at North Wilkesboro, Stapleton will have to worry about one driver. He'll have to worry about 3 drivers, because Stapleton is leading, but now Garrison is just 21 points. Jeffrey Finga is in third at 26, and Andrew Williams is in fourth at 29. So we will have a 4-way battle at North Wilkesboro for the 2025 PSRLA Cup Series Championship. From 5th onwards, unfortunately, that's it. Zane Davidson, Gary Movedell, Lara Koshmar, Bryce Egan, and of course everybody else are officially out of any championship contention. So we will have a 4-way battle for the lead. Of course, everything favors Stapleton, but considering what just happened, I don't know if it can be taken for certain. And for Best of the Rest Championship, Avery Alford is now 26 points clear of Zachary Fitzwater. So basically, for Fitzwater to take away Best of the Rest for Alford, you will have to hope that Alford has a very, very bad race. But who knows? But I doubt it is actually going to happen. But again, this is Talladega, so who knows what's going to happen. And as for other drivers, for this, and now we can effectively say that William Donuts has won the cup for the part-timers, purely because Skep Silver is now a full-timer, as well as Alexander Rowe and Emily York Watson only did one race and it will be her only race. So for this purposes, William Donuts won by default the part-timers cup, which of course not an official trophy. It's more for bragging rights, but still, at least my team got an award. It's a morality award, but I don't care. Considering how bad the season went for us, I'll take everything. But yeah, so this is going to be a very, very exciting finish at North Wilkesboro. 4 drivers, all for 4 for 1. So I'll be honest. Of course, I've been wanting to Oh god, how can I say this? Of course, I'm excited to see the final race because number one, it's gonna be over because after Checker Flag drops on you out North Wilkesboro, it's gonna be over for my NRF friendly career, and also because we got a pretty exciting championship in our hands. So let's see what's going to happen in a week's time. But from New Hampshire, this is gonna be it. And I have nothing else to say other than this has been a special presentation of the 2025 PSRLA Cup Series 44/7 Network. I'm Alexander Vitale, and see you next week for the finale of the 2025 season and of the PSRLA in general at North Wilkesboro. So long, everybody, from New Hampshire. Greetings again to Jeffrey Finguy.